Some people take to an iPad like a duck to water. In my case, I was a slow burner. I think I must have had my iPad for almost a couple of years before I really began to get the most out of it and enjoyed working on an iPad. A few things happened to align that change, namely me. I was the biggest thing that changed because I decided to lean into working on an iPad. Now, I think it's fair to say that virtually anything we do on an iPad, you could do on a Mac. So to pick up an iPad, to want to work on an iPad, you've got to want to make it work. Sometimes it will infuriate you. It's an odd experience working on an iPad, but once you lean into it and want to work on an iPad, oftentimes you find there's no turning back. Now, potentially you've clicked on this video because you're about to buy your first iPad Pro. And if you are, there's just a couple of things you need to be aware of to make sure you get the right model for you. The two smaller models, 256 and 512 gigs, they only get a 9-core CPU and 3 performance cores. Whereas if you buy the 1 or 2 terabyte model, you're going to get 10 GPU cores, 10 CPU cores, and 4 performance cores. Also, those two smaller models have only got 12 gigs of RAM, the two bigger models, 16 gigs of RAM. And that could be important depending upon why you're buying your iPad and how you think you're going to end up using your iPad. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware that there's some hidden specs that you should be aware of before laying your cash down for your new iPad Pro. Now, I want to talk about Nano-texture. That kind of leads on because when I bought my iPad, this M4 iPad Pro that I've got, I bought it with Nano-texture. But within the 2-week window, I sent it back. It just wasn't for me. Now, it is really good at what it does. It will negate virtually all reflections. And it's great to work on as well. If you use a pencil, let's say you're an architect or an artist, and you're drawing a lot, the Nano-texture finish is glorious. It's so tactile. It'll feel fantastic to work on, I promise you. But like with so many things, it comes with a trade-off. And that trade-off is the vibrancy of colors on the display. Now, this tandem OLED display is without a single shadow of doubt the best display that I have ever used. It is gorgeous. To this day, it's still stunning. And the moment you put Nano-texture on there, you are going to nullify some of that vibrancy. So you need to be aware of that. So the middle ground, as far as I'm concerned, is possibly to buy some third-party screen protectors. ESR and Paperlike both make screen protectors. ESR one's magnetic, so you can take it on and off whenever you want to. And then you've kind of got the best of both worlds. It's not quite as good as Nano-texture, but it's very close to. And then you've also got that beautiful screen when you want to just watch movies or content on there. Something else I don't understand about Nano-texture is the fact that it's only available on those two bigger models, the 1 and 2 terabyte models. It makes no sense to me. The storage options, or the RAM, sorry, that I understand because I guess they're figuring if you buy an iPad with 1 or 2 terabytes of storage on there, then you're more likely to be doing hardcore productive work. So fine, I understand why they're giving you the 16 gig option there. But the display, that has no bearing on anything to do with the iPad other than the display. I think that's just Apple being greedy and trying to force your hand into buying those bigger iPads if you want Nano-texture. But try and go and look at Nano-texture before you spec it up because it is great, but it does come at a price. One thing that, with all the improvements that has happened on iPad and iPad OS recently, is we still haven't got the ability for multi-user login, and that's infuriating. I think there's certain exceptions within enterprise situations, but by and large, for most of us, you cannot get an iPad Pro with multi-user login. And that's the bad side of Apple. It wouldn't hurt them at all to give us multi-user login. These are expensive tablets. They can't expect everyone in a household or everyone within a company, small company, to have independent iPads. Multi-user login, I think, well, it's been long overdue, and I know many of you feel the same as well. Now, the ports, or rather port, we have got one very quick port. Yes, it gives us 40 gigs of data transfer. Fine, that's brilliant. But what if, and again, we're assuming that you're going to be using this iPad Pro for meaningful work, what if you want to use a display and plug in an SSD? At the moment, you can't. You have to have a dongle hanging outside of it. Now, this iPad is such a gorgeous design. It truly is. It's a beautiful design. It's much like the iPhone Air that I use. It's so gorgeous to touch, hold, and use. I don't want dongles hanging outside it. They're messy and cumbersome. Surely, as thin as the iPad is, they could put a second port in there, even if it's not as fast as the main port. A second port wouldn't hurt with it. And this is really for my photographer and video friends. What about an SD card reader in there as well? An SD card port, this is a Pro device. We should be getting Pro options on there, if you ask me. Now, when I sit at the desk and work with the iPad, it takes on a whole different character. When I pair it up with the studio display, it is absolutely gorgeous. They were almost made for one another. It scales up perfectly. It gives me a really great workflow. And of course, it also fits in to a Mac workflow as well, the iPad Pro, because I've got Sidecar. You've seen me talk recently on videos about wanting a second display for either my iMac or Mac Mini. Well, of course, with Sidecar, you do get that second display. You get an iPad, you get a gorgeous iPad display. Occasionally, it has its moments, it doesn't behave quite seamlessly, but on the whole, it's not bad at all. And it does work most of the time. And of course, you've got universal control. I've just got one mouse and one keyboard here and one trackpad that controls my Mac Mini, my iMac, and the iPad. And that's the good side of Apple. That's the kind of innovation that I love. And I use, whenever I'm working at the desk with the iPad, it's always with universal control. Accessories is something that's been troubling me. Now, when I bought my iPad Pro a couple of years back, I bought it with the keyboard and it was the Magic Keyboard and a Pencil Pro. I don't use a pencil all that often. I could almost get away without having a pencil. It's nice to use, particularly when I'm touching photos, but not essential. But the keyboard, I think, for an iPad Pro is essential. I spend most of my time writing at it. When I'm using Ulysses, writing my blogs, I always use a keyboard. But is the Magic Keyboard really worth £350? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Now, yes, you can see mine's 2 years old. It's aged very, very well. It's great to use. It's backlit, and it has got the globe key. And that is really important because most third-party keyboards don't have the globe key. And that is critically important, and I'll explain why in just a little while's time. But it's a great keyboard to use, but it is really expensive. And again, there are alternatives. I've used the ESR one. I took that with me when I traveled to CES at the beginning of the year. And Logitech have got this great Casa pop-up solution. And this was really innovative. It puts the iPad at a really comfortable rake to work on. It's a really lovely angle. You've got an independent trackpad to use. And the keyboard is typical Logitech. If you've used any Logitech products, you'll know the quality of their gear. It's a lovely design. It really is a lovely design. So again, there are options. And something else that crossed my mind, Apple could incentivize accessories, if you ask me. When we're at checkout, say you've already got an iPad and you might have an older keyboard, you might have an older pencil, not a pencil, it's not a Pro, and you're tempted, but there's so much you'll put off. What about at the moment of purchasing an iPad, they incentivized and said they have purchased 25% off any iPad accessories. Not only would that be great PR, but it would help us out too and convince people to trade up or buy them that maybe were on the fence. So yes, the Apple accessories, the first-party accessories are still the best, but they come at a ridiculous price. Now, I said there was a couple of things that aligned to really help me enjoy working on an iPad. I've mentioned that my outlook, my approach to an iPad changed drastically, but also it was the Files app. Now, no one talks about this. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, David, we know about. I didn't. It took me a long time, because nobody mentions it. It's this hidden gem that maybe people just assume you know. But when you go into the Files app, yes, you can if you want to get into your cloud storage, into Google Drive, Dropbox, or iCloud. iCloud's useful. The other two, I prefer to use native apps. But once you're in your Files app, which I've now got in my dock, I think it's so central to using with the iPad that I've got it in my dock. My dock for many years was straight out of the box, but now I've refined it to be, well, it's more like a Mac dock now. I've got apps in there that I know I use all the time. It just makes it an awful lot quicker to use. But within the Files app is your Downloads folder. And that Downloads folder is what unlocks the iPad for meaningful day-to-day routine work. Just the kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes in the business side of things. Let's have an invoice turn up attached to an email. Now, I can take that invoice, I can save it to Downloads, I can open up my receipt bank, and I can place it within Receipt Bank from the Downloads folder. Contracts, I get a lot of contracts to sign. That's brilliant on an iPad. Often, they're sent as Word docs. So the first thing I do is convert it to a PDF. Generally, I do that on a Mac, to be honest. But then I put that PDF into the Downloads folder. Once in the Downloads folder, you just open it up. You can use that little box icon at the top with the pencil. You can then drag your saved signature onto there, reposition it, size it, place it where you want, done, put it back in the Downloads folder, return it to the client. Things like that just work perfectly on an iPad. It's because I found the Files app and the Downloads folder and started using them all the time. So if you know about it, I apologize. But it could be people are watching this video trying to get the most out of their iPad and haven't stumbled across just how central the Files app and the Downloads folder are to using an iPad effectively. Now, the other thing that really made me fall in love with the iPad was when I came across shortcuts. I'm a Mac user, I'm a diehard Mac user, and as you know, we all use keyboard shortcuts all the time. So I figured there must be keyboard shortcuts on an iPad, and there are. Now, I've made this PDF, which I'll leave a link to in the description so you can download it, print it off, and keep it to one side to help you learn, get your muscle memory trained for these, but just a couple of them. And this is why the Globe key is so important. Globe A will bring up the menu in any app you happen to be in. So you don't have to go to the top of the screen. You can just hit Globe A, and that'll bring up the menu. globe shift and A, well, that will show up your app library. So if you want to go and quickly find an app that you haven't got saved to your desktop, it's just globe, shift, and A. If you hit shift, globe, control, and any of the 4 arrows on the Magic Keyboard, that will reposition the app you've got open to top half, right half, bottom half, left half of the screen. It's honestly, once you begin getting into that, and if you've got multiple apps open, of course, that's when that shortcut becomes really useful. It's another way of multitasking. And then that app that you've got open, if you want to make it full screen, it's just Globe F. That's just a few of my favorites, Go grab that PDF. There's a load more on there. And once you've got used to using keyboard shortcuts on whatever keyboard you've got attached to your iPad, I honestly think you'll begin flying and there'll be no turning back. There really won't. The iPad has just now become something central to the way I work every day. Before it was just there as I couldn't work out where it fitted in, but now I understand what its strengths are. Yes, there are days that it infuriates me, but on the whole, I really love using it. I've just seen a note I made for myself, screenshots. That's something else that's so simple on the iPad. Just use the pencil, drag up from the bottom left corner, resize with your finger, because the finger still is king on iPad in some instances. Resize the borders around it, crop it in, and that's your screenshot save. Save it to your downloads folder, save it to your photos library. It's so easy to do screenshots on the iPad. Yes, there are still some apps that aren't very good on the iPad. YouTube Studio is one. For instance, I don't use the app anymore. I've now got a shortcut from Safari onto the desktop. I use YouTube Studio from that because it gives me a desktop experience. But most of the apps that aren't working particularly well with the iPad, that's down to the developers, not down to the iPad. It's up to developers now to lean in and realize people are using the iPad more and more and more. And I think iPad, it's taken its time, but it's finally found its place. The new OS we had last year, which is only going to be improved upon this year, made it that much better, multitasking. We've got a fantastic screen to work on, and it's a genuine working option now. It really is. So for all of my love of iPad, and I do love working on it so much now, there's one app that I rarely use, and that's Notes. And why? Because for me, a notepad and a fountain pen still are king when it comes to taking notes. There's something about actually physically writing notes down that helps you remember things. Again, it's that muscle memory trick. I don't know if that's just me, but if you haven't tried it recently, try writing notes down. The Notes app is fine. I do use it for odd occasions, maybe if I'm out on a photo shoot for locations I'm going to, but by and large, all of my notes are taken on here. And then the one last elephant in the room, it's not got macOS. No, it has not. I don't want iPad to be a Mac. The reason I picked the iPad up to use it is because it is different. I want there to be a difference. And there needs to be a difference. They're different operating systems for a reason. They're close enough now that if you use a Mac, you'll understand what using an iPad's all about. But I'm glad that iPadOS is separate and independent from macOS. If I want to go and use a Mac, I've got plenty I can use. But using the iPad, that's the experience that I want to pick up and enjoy when I decide today is an iPad day. I'd love your thoughts on your iPad Pro, how you're using your iPad Pro, and if you're thinking of buying the M5 iPad Pro. I'm perfectly happy with mine for the time being, but if you enjoy me talking about the iPad here, I'm going to leave you the video where I went into shortcuts in a lot more depth.